All right, everybody, we are live. Dynasty Mirror, search for Huru. And I have today our guests are Farida and the brother Dwayne. And we're going to be speaking on what's going on. Dwayne, there's a lot of background noise on your end. There's a lot of background noise.
Right. I think it's the fan sounds like a.
I don't know.
Wind.
It's just a lot of. It sounds like wind, and there's a lot going on in the background.
Okay, yes, it's raining outside. I think that's.
Oh, is it raining? Is that the rain?
Yeah, it's raining outside.
It must be storming outside.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is then.
Right.
Okay, makes sense now. Okay.
Would it be better if I turn the mic off?
Well, I guess when you speak, well, you can't really turn it off because you got to speak. So,
Yeah.
but that's what it sounds like. It must be storming outside because you can really hear it. But anyway, so what we're gonna do today, we're gonna discuss the truth behind Togo and the anti-government protests. Now, Frida, like I said, I was just in Togo in January, and it was quiet and peaceful when I was there. I know before I left, they were Dwayne, do me a favor, go ahead and mute your mic.
All right.
Until you come on. Perfect. All right, so I know when I was there, it was quiet, it was peaceful. I mean, but when I was leaving, I know they were preparing for protests, but it seems like all they were doing was just kind of just blocking off the streets and that's it. So what's really going on? Because before I came, people were warning me like, Dinas, be careful. There's a lot of unrest in Togo. But when I was there, it was probably one of the most quiet and peaceful places that I've been to in Africa. Like, it was really not, the streets were quiet. Togo's the airport is beautiful. Love the airport. It's brand new. Walked outside of the airport, it's just quiet. Drove around the city, it was absolutely quiet. But what am I missing? Like, what's really going on in Togo?
The people of Togo have been having a series of protests since September last year. They want the current president to step down. Together with his father, they have been ruling Togo for 51 years. Yesterday was the 51st year anniversary of their regime. And at some point, the protests were halted to give a chance for a peaceful dialogue initiated by the president of Ghana, the neighboring country. But after almost 2 months, the dialogue didn't yield any fruit because Paul Nyasimbe is not interested in having a constitutional reform that will implement the kind of term limits we want. And what I mean by the kind of term limit we want is that in 1992, the people of Togo voted for a new constitution that inserted term limits. In 2002, his father removed these term limits in order to stay in power for life and pave way for his son's lifetime serve. When his father died, his son committed a coup to become president, then organized fraudulent elections in which over 500 people were killed by the military to force himself as president. And ever since, we have been having sham elections in Togo, elections that are not real elections because they control the whole electoral body. And the people don't even want him to run anymore because he's serving a third term, and that goes against our original constitution. So when the people started the protests in August, there was a political party that called on people to ask for the reinstatement of the 1992 constitution. And that constitution matters not just because of the term limits, but they have modified a total of 46 articles in that constitution. And these modifications give the president the whole power. Ever since 1987, Togo hasn't had local elections. The mayors are appointed, which is unconstitutional. We don't have a Senate, which is also unconstitutional. There are a lot of things that they have done to refuse decentralization and to gather the whole power in the hands of the president, who is a dictator. which is why we just don't want term limits, but we want a whole constitutional change so that we have the institutions that can really strengthen the democracy of the country. He has the power to elect about half of the judiciary committee members without going through the approval of the parliament. Only the executive can introduce a bill to the parliament. Congressmen cannot introduce a bill. They can only approve or disapprove a bill introduced by the president. So all these things make our democracy impossible. And this is why we call for the reinstatement of that constitution. When people were going to protest on that day, August 19 in 2017, the Minister of Security threatened that he will repress the protests. And he carried his threats, and they got a lot of people killed. That caused a lot of anger. And together, civil society activists and opinion leaders put pressure on opposition leaders and asked them to come together so that we simply demand that this government steps down because we cannot continue to be repressed like this by a government that should be protecting us. So ever since protest has sparked in the country, we have gone through multiple series. At first, they shut down the internet, then they brought it back because of international pressure. Then they banned the protests on weekdays. Then, because of people's resistance and the repression, they were forced to reinstate the protest to leave the ban. And finally, in January, when the president of Ghana decided to engage the opposition for a dialogue, even though you are skeptical about it, some people believe we should give peace a try by hoping that at the dialogue, this government will understand that the people don't want them anymore and will choose to step down. They actually use this time to reinforce themselves by bringing in mercenaries, by importing more military equipment, repression equipment. And when the opposition decided to relaunch the protests because the dialogue didn't yield in any fruits, they banned the dialogue. And for the past couple of days, they have been unleashing violence on the people. There have been a lot of people who got killed. We don't have the exact figures still because the the leaders of the civil society organizations, human rights defense group that document these kind of atrocities are all either in exile or in prison. They have released a report in February that indicates that over 100 people have lost their lives since August 2019. And and these people were killed either during protests, during in prison, during extrajudicial executions, etc., etc. The organizations who published the reports, their leaders were indicted and they are in prison, and those of them who haven't been arrested have fled the country, which makes documentation very complicated, and that is done on purpose because they don't want to be held accountable for the killings and atrocities.
Well, so let me ask you this one question. So, well, there's a couple questions. Now, from my understanding, per the African Union, coups aren't allowed, and dictatorships aren't allowed. So, what you're describing sounds like, number one, the president's son wasn't democratically elected. Is that true or not?
That is true.
Okay. So it was a coup that's how he got into power. Is that true or not?
That is true.
So what is the African Union doing actively to, I guess, fix or intervene in what's going on in Togo?
Okay. When Faure Singbe grabbed power, his father died, and then he did a coup with the military and appointed himself president. That is a coup. He was condemned by the international community. At the time, he was a minister under his father's government. Then what did he do? He gathered the parliament members because his father's party controls the parliament. They organize when the international community, the African Union, ECOWAS asked him to step down because there was a coup. They had the parliament appoint him from minister to parliament member, from parliament member to speaker of the parliament, and from speaker to president. Within 1 hour, he went from minister to being a parliament member, to being a speaker of the parliament, and to becoming president. That one too was denounced by everyone as being another coup. Then finally, he decided to step down for a month and organize elections. And they had the VP of the parliament take over as president. But per our constitution states clearly that there cannot be any modification of the constitution when there is vacancy at the presidency. So that change they did was unconstitutional. And then our constitution clearly states that whoever comes to power by coup has committed a crime against the state and must be indicted. So him coming to power as by doing a coup makes him illegal for him to run for any office in Togo because he becomes automatically a criminal. And the constitution clearly states that whoever commits a coup, the act of committing a coup is an imprescriptible crime, meaning that even 100 years later, you can still be indicted for committing a coup. There's no amount of time that is going to delete that act against the state. So Fonya Singbe was not eligible to run for presidency in the first place. But because they control all the institutions, they own everything, and they have militaries at their disposal, they impose him as candidate. And in 2005, when the elections happened, they did what they are doing today. They declared him president. They sent soldiers who went from home to beat people, to kill people. Over 1,000 people died, but a UN investigation states after an investigation that at least 500 people were killed. They were not sure on the number. They decided to go with 500 as at least. So, Singbe came to power illegally, shows the weakness and the hypocrisy of the institutions we call African Union. I call them a president club because there are many of these head of states that are maintaining themselves. They have implemented.
We're starting to lose you a little bit.
System of scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. When
okay, because the thing is now when the former president of Gambia, when he refused to leave, you know, the African Union gave him an ultimatum like, look, if you don't leave, we're coming in to remove you, and he stepped down. So you're saying that the African Union hasn't given any ultimatums to the current leadership in Togo to step down?
The coup right away they did. After he organized the fake elections and became president, they left him alone. But this African Union says in their Charter for Human Rights that freedom of assembly is guaranteed and no government shall repress people who are protesting peacefully. No government shall ban, the right for people to protest. Ever since the Togolese government has been doing that repeatedly, they have not even issued a single statement to condemn this.
Wow, that's amazing. So when I was in Togo in January, just this past January, what was going on? Because again, I was there, it was completely quiet. What was it kind of like the calm before the storm? Like what was going on in Togo back in January?
Protests there were protests. Protests actually happen every other week.
Okay.
What week you were there? It happens every other week till they started the dialogue on February.
Sorry
And
about that.
from
Go ahead.
and from February 15 to April 11, there was no protest because they were having the dialogue, and the opposition decided to halt the protest during the dialogue period per the recommendation of the mediator. They are using that recommendation to ban protests now on the basis that the mediator, President of Ghana, recommended that there should be no protest during the dialogue. But the recommendations of a foreign president are not laws and cannot be used to deprive citizens of their rights. They are recommendations, they are neither laws nor treaties. And number two, the dialogues is not going on anymore. So it's not even valid. In January, there were protests. I don't know what weeks you were there and how long you were there. Maybe you were there during the weeks there was no protests. But when there are no protests, Togo is usually a very peaceful country.
Okay. Okay. Dwayne, you want to go ahead and jump in and add anything?
I mean, what I would add is just from the perspective that I've been working on the Togo issue from, being an African in the diaspora. And I think that's why Pan-Africanism is so important, because one of the reasons why the regime in Togo is able to get away with what's getting away with is it has a lot of international support from governments like the United States, France, and other European countries. So I think one of the things that needs to be done to really deal with that situation is to have some kind of international presence being involved, because outside of the African Union, you really don't see any kind of condemnations from the international community as a whole in regards to what's been happening in Togo.
Now, how did you two connect? Because this is, I mean, this is powerful. So we have a brother in Florida here in America, sister in Togo, who are connected, and now you guys are working together as far as addressing what's going on in Togo. How did you two connect?
Okay. I did an interview in Nigeria in September when the whole situation started. Dwayne watched the interview on YouTube, and then he got in touch with me via social media. And ever since, he has been a great support for us in the struggle, by writing articles, by organizing events to raise awareness and raise money to support us, by contacting state legislators in the United States so they can increase pressure on the Togolese government. He Dwayne is a true Pan-African. As soon as he heard about the situation in Togo, he felt the need and the importance to play a role into supporting this struggle. And this is the kind of solidarity that we need in Togo from all brothers and sisters from all over the world.
Let me ask you this question, Farida. Now, what do you, ever since the brother Dwayne has been helping you out in regards to this protest, what are your thoughts now, Dwayne? If you could do me a favor, just go on mute real quick.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Pan-Africanism? Because I notice a lot of Africans. It's more of a, I would say, Western or movement of the diaspora when we speak of Pan-Africanism. But then on the continent, I noticed that Africans really stick within their own borders, and Pan-Africanism isn't really a initiative or a movement. So what are your thoughts now on Pan-Africanism because of what you're dealing with in Togo?
Pan-Africanism is not a myth. It exists, and it exists in Africa. There are very strong Pan-Africanist and Pan-Africanist movements in Africa. I work with one, for example, called Africans Rising. It was funded by Africans from 44 countries, and they are a solidarity movement, and they support Africans in their struggle from all over the continent. There are many other Pan-Africanist initiatives all over the continent, but you have to understand as well that the level of education and the level of exposure also make it difficult for us to understand certain issues. I have never been taught about Pan-Africanism in school when I was in Togo. I self-educated myself on Pan-Africanism, and luckily because my father was an activist and he introduced me to some literatures that helped me understand Pan-Africanism and get involved and be supportive of all the causes of Africans. As Togolese right now, we have people actively working to support the struggle in Togo all over the continent, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Guinea, in Senegal, in Burkina Faso, in Congo, in Cameroon, and the United States, in the Gambia. These are people who are working for the Togolese struggle without being Togolese themselves. There is no better definition of Pan-Africanism than that. These are people who believe that when African people, wherever they are being repressed and are being oppressed, they should do something about it. And I, as a Togolese, I was supportive of different struggles as well in Cote d'Ivoire, in Burkina Faso, in the Gambia. Whatever support I can provide, I do provide, whether it is by writing, by organizing protests, by lobbying, I do that. So I think it's not fair to think that Pan-Africanism is a diaspora thing. There are Africans who are strong Pan-Africanists. There are Pan-Africanist initiatives on the continent all over the year. And as I'm speaking to you right now, there are hundreds of Africans who are organizing a mobilization day for May 25th, which is African Liberation Day. And they're organizing from all over the places on the continent, volunteering to organize activities in order to raise awareness on Pan-Africanism and to bring Africans to contribute to the advancement of the continent.
Now you're currently in Senegal. Now, when you go to, how's your safety? Do you feel safe because you speak out? You're activist. I'm looking at your Facebook page. I mean, you have a huge following. Do you feel as if you're in danger, or do you feel pretty safe when you're in Togo?
I don't think Togo is safe for me, but you cannot really guarantee your safety as an activist anywhere in the world. When it comes to threats, these are things that we got used to over the time. When it comes to personal attacks, these are also things that we get used to over the time. But you know, like maybe you haven't noticed, but my voice is very low.
Uh-huh.
That's because I've been having some asthma attacks since yesterday, and my breathing is not very well, so it's affecting my speech. But the past couple of days have been very dreadful to me emotionally, which is why I started having these asthma issues. Um, the regime, they sent soldiers to my dad's farm. They beat people, they arrested people. They beat some to the point where they are about to die, and they dumped the bodies in the truck and they left. Um, this was meant to intimidate me, even though my family understands now, and my dad is an activist and he doesn't really allow that to get to him. It's really painful to know that innocent people, poor innocent people who are just farming, are paying the price of my activism. And these are emotionally, I think the emotional torture is the most difficult one to bear. And you have to find ways to keep yourself, to keep your head together, and to understand that it is worth it for the cause. But sometimes you find it difficult to reconcile the abuse people are going through, and to know that there are people who have nothing whatsoever to do with what you're doing that got killed because of what you're doing is something that that is very difficult to deal with.
So, and Dwayne, I'll post this question to you. Well, we're having this debate somewhat in the chat room that Pan-Africanism isn't defined around Black Americans, or Pan-Africanism isn't defined around the diaspora. And this might be a little bit off topic, but it kind of fits into you and Farida's relationship. How should we define Pan-Africanism?
Well, my definition of Pan-Africanism is, essentially what Marcus Garvey envisioned: the complete liberation of African people wherever we are, in the world. But Garvey and most Pan-Africanists, the center of their organization, their activity has always been the African continent, because Garvey and many others believe that ultimately, to liberate African people, we'll have to liberate the African continent first and foremost. So that's one of the reasons why I want to get involved not only in Togo, but other struggles I see being waged on the African continent, because I believe as Africans in the diaspora, we're not going to attain our complete liberation until the African continent is liberated as well.
Right.
So I never see Pan-Africanism as being purely a diaspora type ideology, because when you study the history of Pan-Africanism, the reason why Pan-Africanism was able to thrive and become as successful as it was is through the support of the African continent. I mean, when Garvey organized his movement, it started in Jamaica, but it spread throughout the African continent. So he had the support of the African continent. Malcolm X was the same thing when he went over to African continent to build the Pan-African movement he was building, and he had lots of support from heads of state in Africa, such as Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, and others. So I think Pan-Africanism has always been a connection between the African diaspora and the African continent. I don't think you can speak of Pan-Africanism without the continent.
Absolutely. What's the what are local? Okay, so when we speak of Togo, you have Benin, the borders Benin, Ghana. I forgot what country borders Togo to the north. Is it Mali? Maybe? No, it's not Mali. Is it Mali that borders Togo to the north, or no?
Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso, right. What are these countries, how involved are they when it comes to seeing that this dictator is removed? I already spoke on the African Union, but maybe just on a more regional level. I know you said, I think you said is Buhari involved at all? Like what's really going on as far as a regional level? I think you spoke on this a little bit earlier, but what are they doing to make sure that this violence stops and these protests, and that the people are heard, and that the current government, the dictators, are removed?
In terms of civil society organizations of these countries have been very active in supporting the cause in Togo. They organize protests, they organize events to talk about Togo, to ask their government to do something. In Ghana, for example, activists got arrested when they organized a protest. The president of Ghana and the president of Guinea have been chosen to lead a mediation in Togo. President Buhari has said in a speech that he will not condone any governments holding on to power, unconstitutionally. We know that morally he stands for the people in Togo, but African governments in general, they are very hypocritical in terms of interests that go beyond the interests of their people. And for us, the Togolese, we know that the only way for us to win this struggle is by resisting this regime, by defying them, and by raising awareness in the situation beyond the national and regional borders.
All right, if someone is asking in the chat room, again, we just wanted some more clarity on it, just to get, again, a better understanding. Now, does Togo have elections? Was there a recent election in Togo? When was the last time they had a presidential election?
2015.
2015. Okay, so you're saying that these elections were rigged.
They were not transparent elections.
They weren't transparent. Okay. Who was the party the rival party that ran against the current president?
ANC, led by Jean-Pierre Fabre.
Okay. Now, is he involved at all? Is he assisting you guys with these protests? Is he planning?
As a matter of fact, on Wednesday they tried to assassinate him.
Oh wow! Ooh.
And they attacked his car. They destroyed the car. I don't know if I can share pictures.
Yeah, you can share. Do you know how to share? Or if you want to, what you could do, email me the pictures. Oh, I just bit my tongue down. Email me the pictures. And what I'll do, I'll share them. So if you want to forward the pictures to Dwayne, or Dwayne can forward them to me real quick, I'll share the pictures. Or if you want to, you could share on here if you know how to hit the share option.
Okay.
So is the the African Union, aware that these elections were not legitimate elections that took place in 2015?
I have myself covered elections in multiple countries in Africa. The last one was in Sierra Leone a couple of weeks ago.
If you could do me a favor, if you could speak up a little bit.
I myself have covered elections in Africa in many countries, and the last one were in Sierra Leone. There's a lot of bad game, like there's a lot of things happening during elections. To have missions, observation missions, leadership that are corrupt. They are paid by the government's money to issue reports that the elections were transparent, clean, and fair. In fact, election is a very, business for certain organizations. And the fact that they label these elections as free and fair don't make them free, transparent, and fair. The latest case in Kenya, the same international community said the elections were free and fair, and the Constitutional Court asked for them to redo the elections because it's not. So we have gotten to a point where we don't even care about what they say anymore, because we know that it's going to be the same. We have the rigged elections, then the international community issues a statement and says free and fair, and business continues.
Dwayne, this question is for you. What can, from a Pan-African perspective, I mean, what role can Pan-Africanism play in ensuring that, I guess, situations that are going on in Togo doesn't happen?
The example I always use about what Africans in the diaspora can do for Togo is what we did with South Africa when they had apartheid. You had people throughout the United States, South America, and the Caribbean just constantly speaking on the issue, spreading awareness, putting pressure on lawmakers to put sanctions on the apartheid regime there and really take action. And I mean, even artists, you could look at artists like Omowale, Peter Tosh, and others that sang about the situation in South Africa. So I think in terms of Pan-Africanism, what we in the diaspora can do is help to spread awareness and, like I said, put pressure on certain governments, because the situation in Togo isn't necessarily just a Togolese situation, because this is a neo-colonial dictatorship that's being propped up by foreign governments. So to really solve that situation, you can't just look locally. You also have to look at the international forces that are allowing the situation to continue.
Okay. Now, Dwayne, do you see, because in my honest opinion, I don't see African leaders really post, I would say, Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, Gaddafi, Kwame Nkrumah, really pushing for Pan-Africanism. is there a reason for that after seeing what Pan-Africanism did for South Africa ending apartheid? Why do you think they're not really focusing on Pan-Africanism really?
Well, I mean, just look at the leaders that you named, Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, they were eliminated. So what ended up happening was a lot of the genuine Pan-African leaders were eliminated. So what you have now is a situation where most of the African leaders really aren't interested in Pan-Africanism. They aren't interested in African liberation. And I know one of the things a lot of the Pan-Africanists in the Caribbean that I've been following are doing, they're trying to build a line of connection with the African leadership, the African presidents and the prime ministers and those people. And I think an effective Pan-African movement can't really connect on a governmental level because, as I said, these are leaders that aren't necessarily interested in Pan-Africanism. So I think when we're talking about Pan-Africanism in terms of what the African diaspora can do to assist the continent, and we have to start looking at a grassroots type of connection. We have to connect with the activists, with the people on the ground that are mobilizing and fighting this corruption. But I don't think we can organize on a governmental level in terms of trying to connect with these governments because a lot of them aren't seriously committed to Pan-Africanism.
Okay. So, Farida, what's the end game? The protest, like, what's the end game? What do you guys want as a result from the protest? And how? And let me ask you this, and this is a two-tier question. How close are you guys to meeting that objective, whatever you guys are wanting from the protest?
We want Foreign Assembly to step down.
Can you do us a favor? Can you speak up just a little bit more?
Yes, we want Foreign Assembly to step down.
Okay.
How close we are to that depends on how strong the people are keep pushing and to resist the violence that they are being subjected to. In terms of support, the biggest support we need is for people to help us raise awareness, to help us put pressure on their own governments in the US through the US legislators by writing to them and asking them to sanction the Togolese government for the atrocities and the human rights abuses. The more pressure they receive from all over the world, the easier it's going to make it for us to reach our goal because they'll realize that they don't have a support system anymore.
Are there a lot of pro-Togolese who support the current government?
The current government is supported by the government of France.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you said enough. we know what time it is if that's the case. But what about Togolese? Do a lot of them there are a lot of Togolese who support the current government? Like who all is, how can I put it? Who all is, I would say, protesting? I mean, is this the entire country of Togo? I mean, are there a lot of Togolese who support the current government? What's how divided is Togo, I guess?
The protests are happening in every single region of Togo.
Uh-huh.
Every region. Women are involved, young people are involved, almost every fraction of the population, religious clerics are involved, trade unions are involved. They have also been striking for several months now in Togo. Kids have not been in school. Hospitals don't have staff because doctors are protesting, teachers are protesting, civil servants are protesting. So, and the diaspora has also been organizing protests everywhere. Last week, they were at the United Nations. They are protesting in France, in the US, in the UK, in Brazil, in South Korea, even in African countries like Ghana, Nigeria. So they are like every demographic in Togo is involved in the struggle. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, sorry about that. We had got disconnected for a second. I apologize. Sorry for the technical difficulties. That was my fault. If you could go ahead and repeat that, I apologize.
Okay, yeah, I was saying that every demographic in Togo is involved. The young, the youth, the women, the the civil servants, the religious clerics, they are all involved. For months now, kids have not been going to school because teachers are protesting and are not working.
Uh-huh.
Hospitals are not functioning because doctors are also striking. Women have organized their own protests in Togo to demand change. Um, and the diaspora has been very active in the US and France, Brazil, South Korea, UK, Canada, Nigeria, Ghana. From all over the world, Togolese people have been acting for change, and it's something that we have never seen before. This mobilization is
Like the
absolutely,
Chiefs, are they involved?
yes, even traditional chiefs are getting involved for the first time in a very, very long time.
Hmm. So why does the military continue to back this regime?
The Togolese military is composed by over 90% by people from the president's own village. I don't want to say tribe,
Okay.
but they have a very ethnic, clanic army. And these are people who are not in the army on the basis of merit, but on the basis of relationship with the presidential family. So they are loyal to him. They are loyal to the family.
Hmm. Wow. So, and that was going to lead into my next question. How much is tribal? I hate saying the word tribe. How much is our ethnic tensions playing in this protest or
I
whatnot?
will, I will say none at all. The reason why I say none is because even the president's tribe is fighting them. Currently, they have a military siege in his own, how do you call it, community, in his own village, because people want to protest and they won't allow him. And they are repressing their own people now. We have never had a situation in Togo where we had like a tribal crisis, people killing each other on ethnic basis. It has never happened before. People still understand that it's not a tribe that is controlling them, it's a clan, because even the people of that tribe are abused for
Okay.
as long as they don't play they don't pledge allegiance to the regime. They are abused, and their abuse is even worse because the government sees it as an act of rebellion for you to be from their tribe and not support them.
Okay. Um, are you there, Dwayne?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm just thinking, what can really be done in a situation like this?
Well, I mean, like I said, the only thing that I think can be done and should be done is just putting pressure on different international forces that are involved, and get the international community to really take action. Because the thing that's about the situation in Togo is, I've seen a few articles from the New York Times, but you really don't see much about Togo in the media. You'll
No.
never see anything about it on TV. You don't see any foreign governments condemning what's happening in Togo. Recently when they had the protest in Iran, you had Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, and other politicians come out and express support for the Iranian people in a protest. And Togo has been protesting since August of last year, and you've never seen any politician come out and even express support, for that protest. So
But
I think that's what needs to be done.
But do we really want the West to get involved?
Well, they're already involved, so I mean, there's no way to avoid that.
Okay. All right. What can we do to get the word out even more? Because, like I said, I was in Togo in January, but what can we do to get the word out as far as making sure that Farida's message gets heard even more?
I mean, that's why I'm happy you agreed to do this show. So I think that's one of the things that we could start doing is using YouTube as a platform to discuss what's happening. Social media, I'm just sharing pictures on Facebook, Twitter, because I mean, and we have models of this. We've seen social media
Well,
being
Egypt.
used to spread.
Egypt.
Yeah, I mean, Egypt. Yeah, Egypt. Even just look at locally our situation here in the United States with the African Americans. Black Lives Matter spread mostly as a social media type movement. Before this, like the marches and protests and all that. Before they were able to mobilize that. They started through social media. So I think social media could be a very powerful platform to really mobilize people and get people to take action.
Right. I'm posting a link to her. I'm thinking I just posted a link of her Facebook page, of Farida's Facebook page in the chat room. I mean, Farida, you have a huge following.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you have a huge following, so people are definitely listening. Couple questions in the chat room. Are the chiefs supposed to have autonomy in the current constitution, or no?
They are supposed to, but they don't have any autonomy at all because the government won't allow them. They don't want them to be empowered.
Okay. Then Dwayne, Sultana Sokoto wants to know: do you think Black Americans should engage politically African countries and maybe run for office? If that's even possible?
I mean, in theory, I would like that, but the issue, of course, you run into is how familiar are they with the political realities that exist in this country. So I wouldn't want a situation where someone is living in America, doesn't really understand what's going on in a particular African country, and then tries to run for a seat there. And I mean, an issue already running into in Africa is the politicians that are born and raised in those countries seem disconnected from certain realities. So if you're not even from that particular country and you're trying to get into politics, I think that those are one of the issues that you would run into.
Yeah, somebody in the chat room says Togo is an important market for French produce. Is that true? Which I think would be a problem.
Well, all Francophone countries are an important market for
Yeah, you're right about that. You're absolutely right about that. And this is separate. This is separate from the topic. Why are Francophone countries so dependent on France? Like, how did that happen?
We are not dependent on France. We are owned by France.
Oh wow. Now, how are they still owned by France? Because the illusion is that post-colonialism, these countries were given freedom.
Countries like Togo fought for their freedom. Countries like Cameroon fought for their freedom. Algeria, Madagascar. Millions of people were killed in the colonial struggle for independence. Togo, as a matter of fact, was the very first Francophone country to organize a referendum to say no to colonialism and ask for its independence. And the president of Togo, Sylvanus Olympio, was killed the day before he was supposed to launch Togo's own currency and remove Togo from the French colonial currency. He was paid. They paid the Black people working for them in the French army to go and assassinate him.
Wow.
He took refuge in the American embassy. They went inside the American embassy and shot him. And ever since,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Since these soldiers have been running Togo. Basically, France managed to kill all our independence leaders. They killed them and their supporters. And they put puppets in power. And these puppets have been ruling us ever since.
If you could speak up just a little bit more, people are saying they can't hear you in the chat room, but I heard you.
Okay. They put puppets in power after killing the leaders of our independence struggle, and these puppets are the ones running our countries. But it does not mean the people are okay with that. People are fighting, and which is why we are at where we are today.
Okay. All right. And somebody in the chat room says that I guess Togo was ran by the same family for 51 years. Gabon was ran by the same family for 51 years, and the president of Congo has been there for 40 years. I didn't know the president of Congo. No, hold on. The president of Congo has been there for 40 years. That's
Mm,
not. That's not. I mean, Mobutu was just. I gotta look that up, Tafafar. I don't know about Congo.
two Congos. There is Congo Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo, and there is Congo, whose capital is Brazzaville. Congo Brazzaville was a French colony. Congo Kinshasa was a Belgian colony. The current president of Congo, Sassou Nguesso, yes, he has totaled 4 decades in power, but he was removed at some point by a coup, and he came back later in the late 80s by doing another coup. So
Okay.
he has been there for 40 years, or in once, but he has been there altogether. Yes, for that.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, what we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And Frida, I just want to let you know that you always have a home here. So anything you guys want to share, you and your people, by all means, you always have a platform here. Dwayne, thank you for bringing a sister to us, and the same thing with you, Dwayne. You guys always have a platform here. Cohen, I'll put her contact information in the chat. I'll go ahead and uh, add it to the chat again. But I mean, Dwayne, in closing, anything you would like to share with us?
I mean, just what I've been saying, that I think for Togo to really succeed in the struggle, that the region, they're going to need international support, and I think as Pan-Africanists, it's our duty to support that struggle.
Okay. And Frida, is there anything you'd like to share in closing?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to apologize for my voice being
It's okay.
low. I'm sick. Um, I want to thank everybody for taking time to hear the story of Togo. We are a country that people don't hear much of because we haven't really had any war, which is a good thing. We are not naturally as rich as other countries. Well, at least for now, we don't think we are. And we are a small country, relatively, of 7 million people, one of the smallest on the continent.
Mhm.
However, the Togolese people have always been strong Pan-Africanists back in the all the way back to the colonial era, and we have always remained strong against colonization. The very first military coup in Africa happened in Togo in 1963 when our president was killed. And our struggle is continuing from that moment till today. We have not stopped. We want Togo to change because we want to send a message to Africa that if we could do it and defeat the oldest military regime on the continent, then anybody else can do it. And we are going to succeed this struggle. We're going to win this struggle because we are determined and we are mobilized and we are resilient. After all these years of abuse, we have gained a lot. And we are going to win. And once we win, we'll make it our mission to liberate every single other African country that is dominated by selfish dictators who care only about their own interests and who have sacrificed their country, their people, and the future generation to satisfy their own gain. We will fight along with other African brothers because we know that unless every country in Africa is free, Africa can never be free. And we want Togo to be the home of all Africans who believe in unity, who believe in the betterment and the liberation of this continent. Our country is a peaceful one. Our country people are very welcoming, and Togo will always have a place for every African or Black person wherever they are from. But before we can do that, we have to keep this government out, and we do want the world to support us in this process, and we are grateful for those who already are doing that. So thank you so much. for having me, and thank you so much for your interest in this struggle.
Oh, no problem. How can everybody? Well, I'll put your Facebook information in the chat room. Is there any other way people could reach out to you that you'd like to share?
Yes, people can reach out by email, Farida Bemba. I'll write it down. The reason is because I am usually overwhelmed on my social media pages by messages,
Uh-huh.
and I don't get to reach them as quickly as I do with my email when it's important messages, because there are a lot of information that comes through social media. So I get hundreds a day and I don't get a chance to go through all of them altogether. But they can also reach me out by email.
Okay. What's your email address? I can put it in the chat.
It's Farida, like my first name, Farida. Bemba, B as boy, E, M as Mary, B as boy, A as apple. Farida Bemba at gmail.com, all in one word.
At gmail.com. All right, got it. Okay. All right, so I'll put it in the chat. So people who want to, now are you guys taking any type of monetary contributions at all, or
Yes.
do you have a channel for that or a platform for that?
Yes, we do have one.
Okay. What I'll do, I'll have just in case. You said BEM as in Mary?
Yes, I even
Okay.
wrote it in a group chat.
Say that one more time.
I wrote it in the group chat. I posted it.
In the group. Okay. Who are you posting as?
Farida.
I don't see you in here in the group chat.
In this chat we are having right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't see your
top left corner.
Oh, okay. Our group chat. Okay, got you. Okay, got it. Okay. All right, perfect. Let me I'm trying to see if I can pull it up real quick. Oh, here we go. Got it. Got it. Okay, okay. Do you want me to post this in the in our chat, in the main chat?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me go ahead and do that right now. Give me 1 second.
Thank you so much.
No problem. So if you guys want to contribute to the resistance, here you go. Thank you. Yes, I turned. Hey, anybody who guesses how old I am, they already gave that. You guys already know how old I am. Never mind. My birthday is today. So.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Appreciate it. Dang, it's too long. This hold on 1 second. Goodness. In fact, what I'll do at the end of this video, I'll put it in the description. So let me do me a favor, Dwayne, email this to me. In fact, I can email it to myself. I'm sorry. But again, everybody, thank you for joining us. Oh, here we go, right here. I got it right here. The PayPal, got it right here. All right, I can put it in there. So people who want to contribute. In fact, if you were planning on contributing today to me in the super chat today, send it to Farida, to what they're doing.
Thank you.
Send it there. That's what we'll do. So for my birthday present, you guys send the money to Farida.
Thank you so much.
To this PayPal. Here we go. Bam. You guys send it here. I'm 36. Nita, I'm about to cuss. No, I'm not 45 years old. I'm about to cuss, but I'm gonna be nice, Nita. I was about to say a cuss word, but no, I'm not going to Magic City tonight. I don't trick off like that. And anytime I'm 40 plus. All right, I'm about to cuss, but I'm not going to. But everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Dwayne, what's your contact information as well, Dwayne? How can people reach out to you?
Mainly through I have a Facebook page, Dwayne Wong, Omowale, Pan-African author. Actually, I'll try to pull up in this chat.
Yeah, put it in the chat.
Yeah, I think Facebook would be the best way to contact me through that Facebook page.
Oh, last question. Hey, quick question, Farida. Kimi Seba, do you guys work with him at all?
No, we don't.
Are you familiar with him?
We are.
Okay. I was gonna say, Dwayne, if you want to put your information in the chat.
Yeah, it's in the chat right now.
Okay. All right, let's see here. Let me. Okay, got it right here. So people who want to reach out to Dwayne, here's his contact information as well. I'll go ahead and throw that in the chat right now. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Search for Uhuru. Make sure you go to Search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Also go to AfricaPersonified.Africa. Search for Uhuru.com, DynastyMirror.com. Also go to Amazon.com. Search your name, Dynasty Mirror. Please buy a book. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And make sure you contribute to Farida so they could keep it going in Togo, the resistance. So again, thank you so much. Till next time, guys. Peace.